Hill, a 21st century Glass-Steagall. What do we know about the president's thinking on this issue? How has that changed in light of the conversation he had with our colleagues today?
Well, David, this is an incredible interview from my colleagues Margaret Talev and Jennifer Jacobs, who just interviewed President Trump inside the Oval Office. And these headlines already having a market impact. Look, this was what candidate Donald Trump said on the campaign trail that really roiled the more moderate wing of the Republican Party back during the campaign, because there are several folks, including folks within the U.S. Chamber of Commerce wing of the Republican Party, who vehemently oppose any type of rhetoric surrounding the reintroduction of Glass-Steagall. But when you look at the geopolitical landscape, particularly here in the United States, both the grassroots base of the Republican and the Democrat parties have both advocated for Glass-Steagall. People like Senator Bernie Sanders, Senator Elizabeth Warren. Now, the way that the rhetoric has shifted in terms of implementing policy is night and day, because when you talk to people like Jeb Hensarling, who chairs the Financial Services Committee, he would advocate that the best way to break up big banks would be to provide an off-ramp for regulatory policies. And that could provide him some cover and is really, truly probably what President Trump's policies, when they are implemented, would shape up. Because in order to, again, provide that off-ramp for deregulatory policies, as Chairman Hensarling is advocating, they have argued that that would eliminate the issue of systemically important financial institutions, SIFIs, or too-big-to-fail banks, that would, as a result, end all orderly liquidation or government takeovers, or put simply, taxpayer bailouts.
Kevin Cirilli, you were burning the midnight oil last night watching what was unfolding on Capitol Hill. We got a bipartisan agreement here on a spending bill that would fund the government through September 30th. This interview, this newsmaking interview that Jennifer Jacobs did and Margaret Talev did with the president, was an opportunity for us to hear from the president about that piece of legislation. He told them he is, quote, happy with the bipartisan spending deal. Where do things go from here?
Well, look, mark your calendar for the end of September, because this is going to get them through September, a $1.1 trillion spending bill. Clearly, President Trump and the White House making the political calculation, David, that they don't want to have a government shutdown on the eve of President Trump's 100th day in office. Now, that said, the debt limit, the debt ceiling, we're going to hit it at the end of September, and that is right around the time that all of this could really come to a standstill. Look, privately, I can tell you that right now here on Capitol Hill, lawmakers are meeting behind closed doors within the Republican Party to, again, hash out details on tax policy and tax reform. I can tell you that I spoke with the senior aide who, in Republican leadership in the House of Representatives earlier today, who told me that they do not have the votes right now to pass health care policy, but they are looking and feeling pressure, quite frankly, from the White House to get something done this week. So there are a lot of moving parts, but I can tell you that the top two legislative priorities include health care and tax policy. That's still top of their list on their radar. A
couple more things I want to tick through with you here. He talked about the gasoline tax as well. He said he'd be open to raising it. The President of the United States said he'd be open to raising the gas tax. How controversial a statement is that going to be, Kevin?
It's going to be controversial for folks, particularly Democrats, who have advocated against it. But I think it sends a signal market-wide and internationally, because when President Trump is telling our very own Margaret Talev and Jennifer Jacobs that about the gas tax, he's also weighing into very murky political waters, as I said, as lawmakers are meeting right now to try to get more in depth, because he was criticized last week for not providing enough details on tax policy, on international tax policy, and that's a detail that was left out of that blueprint last week that our very own colleagues were able to get out of him.
So I just want to give the viewers some perspective here. Margaret and Jennifer go into this interview in the Oval Office. It's a print interview. There were no cameras there, so we're getting headlines as they come across. The first big one we got, Kevin, was about North Korea. They asked the president if he would be willing to meet with the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, and the president said yes. What more color or context do we have there about the circumstances that would have to be in place for the president to do that?
Well, it would be a remarkable interview, a remarkable meeting, should that actually come to fruition. Here's something that I would note. Last week, President Trump said that he had respect for Kim Jong-un, the North Korea dictator. Now, he has criticized him forcefully. He has said that military options are very much on the table in dealing with North Korea dictator as they continue to evolve their nuclear weapon program. But he has really taken the position that he wants to pressure China President Xi Jinping through bilateral trade agreements in order to pressure North Korea to dismantle their nuclear weapon program. But either way, again, signaling that he could meet with these leaders is somewhat of a reversal, because he criticized then now former President Barack Obama on the campaign trail for being perhaps more talkative to some international counterparts, including Iran, that have had disagreements, to say the least, on national security with the United States.